so that I could personally witness what's going on in the lower levels of Dulce so that I could tell people. And for years I've held back because it was just absolutely too awful to tell anyone. And I didn't know how people would react. And also I was afraid that my life might be put in danger by spilling the beans on what I saw. But I'm going to tell it here today. And for those of you that are have a weak stomach, I suggest you stop listening to it. Or if you can't deal with fright very well, maybe you need to not listen to the rest of this, okay? I'm trying to think for your best interest. But we get there to Dulce and we approach an area where small crafts are coming in. There's lots of them. It's like a big hangar. And out of each craft, I could see that they would bring out one, sometimes two. I don't know if there was three or not. It could have been three, maybe, humans. And they put them in like a little buggies that was on like a rail track. And they set the people up in that. Now, the overseers operating the system, shockingly to me, were human. Or they appeared to be human. And what shocked me even more was these tall, Nordic, blonde-haired, blue-eyed men operating this system were wearing uniforms with the swastika on the shoulders, an emblem, an insignia of the swastika. Now, think about this and think about World War II and what all was going on there, and the association of this might indicate who was controlling Hitler and what was really behind all that.
Yeah. In Henry Crane's book as well, he did mention that different groups of humans worship different reptilian gods unwittingly, and that sometimes the reptilian gods would fight each other and they would get the humans to try and wipe out the other group.
Yes.
In this case, I'm drawing comparison. He draws comparison to Hitler and the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
That's where his intense hatred for the Jews came from. It was influenced by these reptilians. Anyway, if you could just carry on.
Well, we drew close to where these humans overseers were working. These overseers could not see me, nor the entity that was guiding me and taking me there. We were, to me, ethereal. We were not in solid form where they could see us, but these workers, these Nordic people, were solid material. The humans they brought in, they put in these little train cars, were all sitting there like zombies, like they were stunned. And one of the things that bothered me in the first time I saw this with Barbara under hypnosis, it really wrecked me emotionally. And I saw a young woman of maybe 28 to 30 years old, a very pretty, attractive brunette lady, and she had a little boy with her about 7 or 8 years old. And he was sitting there with her. Both of them had been brought in, and I panicked, and I knew that something bad was about to happen to them, and I ran to wake them up, and I got right in their face, and I was like yelling to wake up, and they were not even aware I was there, and the Nordic overseers couldn't have seen or hear me either. So I was protected in that sense. Some way they had me concealed where nothing was aware that we were there. But this woman, they rolled on and went on down the conveyor belt, and so then we moved to a different area, and the person that was taking me, or the entity that was taking me, stopped and said, "Listen." And I stopped, and we listened, and in the background you could hear kind of like a very dull ripping kind of noise. And I remember beginning to feel panicky, and I didn't want to go see what was making that awful noise. And the entity that was taking me insisted and said, "You must see it. You must see it." And so I looked, and what I saw were human torsos hanging on big meat hooks, and they hooked bone to hooks in the back of the body, and they were ripping the bones out of the human bodies to fillet it.
And who was doing this?
The Nordics, these overseers.
Do you remember watching Extraordinary The Seeding? Do you remember
Never heard of that. No, I never heard of it.
No, we definitely watched this. It was remember we spoke about the guy waking up in his clone. You said it was a pretty good documentary.
Oh yeah, I do remember now.
Do you remember what he was saying? That he was walking past one of these Nordics, and he said it was like their face just kind of shifted briefly into reptilian face and then shifted back. It was like a hologram that was put over the face.
Right. Okay. Now I remember now. Thank you. Yes.
Is it possible that this might have been an illusion?
It's possible.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with this phenomenon, anything is possible. You know.
Royce, sorry, continue.
It's quite all right. The next phase of Dulce that I saw was we went to a large room that was extremely cold, and inside this room were boxes that were like little small metal caskets, only they weren't caskets, they were more like coolers, and they were bringing in human body parts, arms, legs, torsos, all kinds of body parts, and packing them into these crates. And then there were a lot of them. It was a big operation, and I saw, I'm going to say probably 6 different Nordics working on 6 different boxes at one time, if I recall correctly, and they were packing all this in, and then they were putting the boxes, once they're full, on a conveyor belt roller, and it reminded me of present day where your luggage comes in at an airport on those rollers. It was like rolling on that, and it rolled into an area where there were a lot of craft waiting, and they were loading them, these crafts where they were taking them, in my opinion, I assume they were taking them out to colonies in space somewhere, or colonies here on our own planet that we're not aware of.
Wow. It's a meat processing plant. We've touched on it briefly before. But
yes, but I never really went into detail like I just have now. And that's all I saw on that, and I don't ever really want to see any more.